Hello everyone and welcome to Talking Reds on the Anfield Apps YouTube channel. I am Dan Austin, this is Craig Hannan, just back off a stag do to the Dwarf, and as you can probably tell from the angle that you're at, has decided to shave one half of his face today. You're delicate, aren't you? You're a delicate man.
You're an absolute grass. You are a grass. Basically, I don't know why we're talking about this in the Liverpool FC Talking Reds video.
Because it's what they want.
Okay, right. Well, I started to shave my face with an electronic shaver this morning, and the battery cut out after pretty much getting like one side. So, yeah, I've got one side of my face shaved.
It's got like a beard fade, but like completely from left to right.
Should just pretend that's like the style now.
You went to a Turkish barber and got it done, didn't you?
Yeah, my mum watches these and she's just going to be appalled at that. So yeah, shaving game, not great. Liverpool, brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's the first one of the week, isn't it? Because it was bank holiday. There wasn't a Talking Reds yesterday. It feels like a long time since the game, but it's the first chance that we've had to talk about it properly on video. And they're just really, really good, aren't they? Like, I know that they didn't play particularly well the other day, but they were still completely in control for the majority of the match. And for the start of the season to look as strong as this is really encouraging.
But yet, so many of the players don't look anywhere near like their ceiling, or you know, they don't look like the Mo Salah doesn't really, despite the fact that he's been scoring goals. Sadio Mane scored goals. Like, neither of them were very good at the weekend, I thought, really. Firmino hasn't really got back in the swing of things. He was at the World Cup. He gets back late, but then he wasn't even playing at the World Cup, really. So he's going to be rusty, and that's going to happen. I think that's kind of why I enjoyed the win so much. That it was just one of them where we weren't really at the races, and yet we were in control. Like, I'm loving Alisson and his mad chip, and
it was incredible, wasn't it? Like, I feel like my life has changed from that moment onwards. Like, when you look back at the end of your life of momentous things that happened, you'll be like, oh, your first day at nursery and your first job and stuff like that. And some sort of pinnacle in my life will be the Alisson chip against Brighton in August 2018.
And even the little bits were like, he held on to the ball and then he almost got closed down, and it's like, you know, it's exhilarating to watch. It really is. I think, like, I've been loving the jokes around, like, killing people off in the main stand one by one. Like, the season ticket waiting list is just going to go from all the old lads going, I'm not having this. I'm getting off, having a ticket back. So yeah, like, despite the fact that there are so many of the players that just don't look completely at it yet, we're winning games. We're not conceding goals. And we're still looking to business and sort of striking fear into our rivals, into everyone else in the league, really, because, like, I've never known a Liverpool team to be talked about so much by opposition fans. Do you know what I mean? Like, on social media, going on about us. They're sick of us, like, singing that song about, like, Guardiola, like, that we're top of the league so early. It's only 3 games in. They're getting ahead of themselves. Blah blah blah. Honestly, don't care. I'm absolutely loving everyone getting annoyed at Liverpool.
The only time that I feel like this has happened before has been when it comes to kind of March, April time, 08, 09 and 13, 14, when they all start talking about Liverpool and the rhetoric around it shifts and they're all really angry because Liverpool are about to win something or look like they might be about to win a league for the first time anyway. But this is from the very start of the season, and you were saying there about the goalkeeper and stuff, but the combination of him and Virgil van Dijk, I honestly don't think we're going to concede a goal ever again. Like, I find it really hard to imagine how a team scores past Liverpool. Like, a Jamie Vardy-less Leicester, I look at it and think, you could get a mad one, someone could make a mistake, but it's really hard for you to score a goal. And for every team now, it looks like that, because Brighton played all right the other day, and Crystal Palace played all right, and West Ham had a couple of chances, and at no point did you actually think you were in any danger, because those two are so calm, so authoritative throughout the whole thing, that you've just got complete and utter confidence in them, the likes of which I've never felt about a Liverpool defence before, I don't think. Definitely.
That's a seismic shift from, what it would have been a year ago, when the narrative around Liverpool was that they could score goals, but they concede them as quickly. And, like, that turnaround, like, you can't understate the turnaround in Liverpool's defence from the moment Virgil van Dijk stepped into it. And obviously with Alisson, and Robertson's played a big part in that as well, because he didn't start at the start of last season. Trent Alexander now has just had he's had a season where an unbelievable year for him, and he's just progressing. Like, even he looks I thought he looked still a little bit rusty at times, but then he's hitting the bar of a free kick, and at some stage he's going to score one of them.
And a 70-yard pass that he cuts across with his foot, and it just looks so easy. It looks like he has to put no effort into it whatsoever, but it's pristine. It's so perfect.
But it's those little moments that we've seen so many times from Trent Alexander-Arnold that tells you he's going to be an elite footballer. Like that, it went off in the pub I watched. Obviously, I was away, so I couldn't be at the match, and it went off whenever that went in, and it was Germans. It wasn't, there was very few Liverpool fans in there. It was just people who enjoyed watching football and enjoyed watching that pass. It was just unbelievable. But yeah, like that shift now, and hopefully that sees a shift in the narrative of Liverpool aren't great in defence, and you can get at them, and that plays into the minds of the opposition and into their psyche, because the past 6 months we have been really good defensively, and the past 3 games we've been excellent. Good luck scoring against the Reds. I think the Leicester game now will be the big test, because I don't know what it is. I hate going to Leicester. It always worries me, but then we won last year in the league, didn't we? There.
And the main issue when we go there is that Jamie Vardy scores every year, and he can't score this year.
Yeah. So we should be confident. I can't wait to get to the game. It feels like age. That's what's so good about this Liverpool team at the moment, that you just want to watch them every day, don't you?
I was so excited to go to Brighton at home the other day when, to be honest, I had like other things to do. I was quite busy over the weekend, but like everything completely revolved around that, because it was the prospect of watching Liverpool play football, even in a game where you assume that the result is never in doubt, is so thrilling. And I think that's the carry on from last season. We did loads of podcasts talking about just how excited we were to be going on these European aways and to every home league game as they tried to secure top 4. And it feels like, even though there's been, a long summer gap where they've been away doing friendlies and there's been an entire World Cup, it just feels like there's been no let up. It feels like throughout the whole of that time we've just been itching to get back and watch them play proper competitive football again. And as soon as they have done, they've not let us down. Because even though the attacking performances probably haven't quite been there yet, I think despite the fact that Salah scored a couple of times, hasn't really been at the races. Firmino's looked quiet. Mane was quiet the other day, despite his really strong start in the other games. You've still really enjoyed it when you've been there. There's still been so much around the rest of the pitch where, Milner and Wijnaldum's performances so far, I think, have been brilliant as well. And they're two players that, even last season, with something of unsung heroes, and they're probably two of the least glamorous players that Liverpool have got. But you look at them now, and you'd be happy for them to just keep playing and playing and playing because of the form that they're in.
Well, we've signed 2 players in their position, basically, and they'll have been looking at that in the summer and thinking, right, well, I have to. The signing of these players are almost dragging their performances up even more. Like what a final few months from James Milner, and Wijnaldum was pivotal in the last few months of last season as well. But they've just they've upped their game because of these new signings coming in, and they are you can't drop them at the minute. There's Jordan Henderson, who's the captain. He's going to struggle getting into this team, and you've got like even the likes of Fabinho, who's been brought in, one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe,
sought after by all kinds of teams.
Exactly, and he's Jurgen Klopp's taking his time, which we've seen him do with signings before, rather than just throw him in. But it's good luck getting into this Liverpool team, and this feeling of like being so excited about each game should be cherished, because it's always been like this, and we all like think of how many times down the years where like it's been a bit of a slog going to these games, and like we haven't maybe haven't started the season very well, and it's just been a bit like gets your dampens your mood and gets your hopes down. But at the minute, everyone is buzzing for Liverpool, and long may it continue.
Everyone's buzzing for Liverpool. Our rivals, some of them, are not exactly buzzing. Monday Night Football, Manchester United, Tottenham. I thought it'd be fairly tight. I thought it'd be a close game. And Tottenham win by 3-0 at Old Trafford for the first. But they haven't won there for a very, very long time. Pochettino's first win there, and the reaction at the end, Mourinho's face, what he said in the press conference. It just feels like it's going wrong very, very quickly, because there's this whole 3-season thing. And everyone kind of expected it to go wrong at some point this season. Maybe they'd get to the end and then leave. But for it to feel like a real crisis 3 games in can only be positive for everyone else, but it just looks really mad for them, doesn't it?
Pyro, isn't it? Do you know what the funny bit about it was? I thought the first half an hour was as good as I'd seen United really in a while, in terms of like they kind of got at Spurs. Like there was something for them for their fans to kind of hang their hat on as not the usual defensive, soak up the pressure, sit back Mourinho performance that we've seen so much from his teams. And I was watching that thinking, well, maybe he's going to give it a go. And obviously, like Lukaku chance, like if he scores that, it's maybe a different game. But Spurs were still having chances, and like when we've looked at Mourinho sides in the past, we always said, right, defensively they're very stable, they're strong, and like, God, they were awful at the back. Like that Lindelof and Small and Jones. So just look, you can't have any faith in any of those players at the back.
He had 5 different centre halves at different points in that match last night. Started with a 3, had to change it. How many of them have
been his signings?
Well, yeah, he's complaining about not getting 60 million to spend on Alderweireld, who then turns up and plays really well against them last night just to rub it in. But he spent a combined something like 70 million on Lindelof and Bailly, who he then bombs out because they were terrible against Brighton. And it's like, all right, you can complain about not getting that player, but should you have not maybe bought better ones, mate?
And the meltdown is well, I'd say a manager under pressure. Is that, like, it doesn't even look as if he really wants to be there. It's almost as if it is the third year Mourinho thing, whereby the things he's saying are just bizarre, and you often see that with managers as they are under pressure, and they show their pressure in different ways. And these are the kind of things you see towards the end of managers' tenure when it's all going wrong, and it just the fact that they couldn't get in any of their main targets. I know they get Fred, but there was a lot of back and forth between Mourinho and the board, and the fact that they wouldn't spend on this player and that player, and he couldn't get this defender and whatever. But like, if you're a defender, do you really want to go and play for this team at the minute? And they've so many good players when you look at them on paper. It's so many good players that when they've signed them over the years, I thought, why can't we sign someone like that? But they're just not doing it. And whether the problem's systemic, whether it's just Mourinho, and whether it's the players have sort of don't want to play for him anymore, I don't know. But
I think it's partly his coaching in that the way he sets them up just drags loads of the talent out of them, and it is defeatist and it is negative. But also, if you're looking at their first team last night that they put out, the 11 of them, I'm not convinced I'd take a single one of them for Liverpool. There are questions about it, like De Gea and Alisson, both great. I suppose there's more of a body of evidence with De Gea, but I'm not convinced to take him. There are other good players in it. Pogba's a really good player, Lukaku's a really good player, but I compare them to the Liverpool side and go, not really. I wouldn't necessarily take them.
Well, no, so I wouldn't take them if they're playing under Mourinho. I think I would look at it like that. You look at like players like Pogba and Sanchez, and even Martial and Rashford, who at times have shown glimpses but haven't really developed enough. But like, if you put them under Jurgen Klopp, then suddenly they're do you know what I mean? Like, you can see that they'd be given the platform to flourish rather than be stifled. And
you can see from the body language, I think, an awful lot of the time that they're restricted and almost playing within themselves to an extent. And
like, look at Liverpool's players, and even like a 1-0 win, but like so the first game of the season against West Ham, and obviously against Palace as well. Like, you see them, they've got a smile on their face. They're enjoying they're enjoying having so many chances. They're enjoying scoring so many goals. And you just look at over at United, and it just looks grim, both on the pitch, off the pitch for the fans. Him clapping the fans at the end and all of that, and like taking the scarf is just bizarre to me. And everything that he said in the press conference, and long may this continue. Honestly, like, as long as Mourinho's at United, I'm not worried about them.
He said, didn't he, afterwards, that he was a better team, and for half an hour maybe, but you can't say that after you've just got beat 3-0 at home. And the longer he comes out with things like that, the more they're just going to hate him.
The 3-0 thing where he's going, what was the score? 3-0, 3 Premier League titles I've got. And it's like,
that doesn't help you now, does it?
Yeah, no.
Important to note that Tottenham look really good, so that's not ideal, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, let's see it.
Liverpool are great for now, that's the main concern. Another point to come on to is that it's 11 years since Lucas Leiva made his debut for Liverpool. Really nice lads. I always thought that the people went to extremes with Lucas that weren't entirely justified. In the, when he first comes in, people thought that he was the world's worst, and he has to come in 09-10 for Alonso and play an awful lot of games. And he wasn't the same level of footballer, was he? I think we all knew that, but he's getting booed as he's coming onto the pitch and stuff, and he clearly wasn't that bad a footballer. He was a competent player, he was all right, and then it sort of went the other way for me, where it got to a point around kind of 2012 time where people treated him like he was some sort of midfield god, because exactly everything else went the other way, and Gerrard was injured a lot of the time, and it felt like everyone kind of went back and forth between he's the best midfielder in the Premier League or he's the worst player to ever play in the Premier League. Yeah. And I always just thought he's good, I like him, and he seems like a nice lad, and I think he was kind of harshly treated in a lot of ways.
I think some people had sort of, after his early performances in the early years where he was booed and he wasn't a very popular, like when he came on, I can't remember what game that was. Was it against Sunderland and Fulham or something?
It was Fulham. It was Fulham at Anfield, and we went top of the league that night, and he still got booed on, and we got booed off.
And I think some people had sort of made their mind up with Lucas at a stage where like, nah, he's crap, and it sort of reminds me of like the Jordan Henderson. Some people just don't like him, and that's
they've just seen his face and gone, nah, I'm not into you, lad.
And yeah, look, he seemed to be really, really popular amongst the Liverpool team. He's now this like cult hero of like, because he was with the club for how many years was that? Was
10 years?
10 years.
Signed in 06 or 07,
So,
yeah.
And yeah, I love the man, and like the interview which we're about to show you a clip from the lads interviewed him a couple of years ago. Like he just comes, he has jokes as well, doesn't he? And he's one of those players that he seemed to really embrace living within Liverpool, the city. Like I see him commenting under his Instagram the odd time with like la and like is right la, and it really makes me laugh that he's just like he embraced living in this city and its people, and he seemed to really enjoy it. And I know Wolsey like frequently DMs him on the Insta as well, and like there's times where he'll tag Lucas in, and Lucas will reply just saying like is right lad and stuff. Absolutely love it.
Well, I think that's great because like obviously he's an example of that, but his kids, Benitez's kids, Alonso's, Garcia's, whoever. There's this generation of like Hispanic, semi-Scouse kids that are kicking about and like
Suarez.
Exactly. There's so many of them. I think that's brilliant that like they can switch from Spanish to then English, but like they'll be speaking like us, basically.
Fucking right, lads. Was that any good? Is that all right?
We'll say it is. But yours is as good as my Belfast. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, all right. But like, Wolsey's put down on his agenda here, favourite Lucas memory. The one that always sticks out for me isn't even really what he done on the pitch. It was, I think it was Stoke in the semi-final of the League Cup, and we put them out. And I think Stoke fans have been giving him a bit, and he basically runs up in front of them and just goes, yeah. Doesn't think about celebrating with his own fans, his own players. He just darts off and just runs and stands in front of them, just giving it to them. And then I think a couple of months later we play them in the league, and he's warming up, and they're all giving him shit, and then Liverpool score, and then he goes like that again. I absolutely love this like little thing he had with Stoke fans. So yeah, that's my one.
My favourite is a similar thing in that it didn't really revolve around him, but it's just. Remember Aston Villa away, yellow kit, Ricky Lambert scores the goal, and they do the celebration, they run over to the away end, and it's just the photograph of him from the away end, like celebrating with them. And I mean, it was a terrible, terrible season, 14-15. A game that has absolutely no importance about it really in the grand scheme of things, but it was just the pure joy on his face and the way he was sharing it with the supporters. I thought was absolutely brilliant. But yes, as Craig mentioned, here is the clip from the interview that the Anfield Rap did with Lucas a couple of years ago.
One of our listeners is a massive fan of yours, huge fan, Jamie from Bootle, and he asks, who's the best defender from Bootle that you've ever played with?
The best defender
from Bootle.
Jamie Carragher.
Hey.
He was shite.
Funny enough, his last question.
Like he says about us now on Sky.
That was the clip from the Lucas Laver interview on the Anfield Rap website. It's free for you to go and listen to now. One piece of news before we go, Craig, is that Sheyi, Liverpool winger, has been linked by Paul Joyce with a move to a club in Ligue 1 in France. We will tell you who it is, but just before we do, I want Craig to have a go at pronouncing the name of the football team. So it's spelt R-E.
It's made up. That's what it is. It's a made up team.
I promise you it's not made up. It's a place fairly near to Paris. But if you were going and you were asking for directions to this place, what would you say? How would you pronounce that?
Oue Reims. It's like a bit of French there.
Absolute year 9 class memories there from you. Have another go. That is the first letter.
Roms.
It's not Roms, you know.
Ah.
It's Stade de France.
Stade de France.
That's not bad. I think he could pick it up.
The Reds.
But yeah, he's maybe going there. Best of luck to him if he does.
What about you done that just to take the piss out of me?
I've no interest in if he goes there or not.
Where's the beer? Ojo, going on loan somewhere in France.
I'm sure the people at home really like the parts where you try and pronounce foreign things. It's a staple of the show from what I've seen. But yes, that's everything for today. Thank you very much from Craig and from me. There are loads of shows coming up on the Anfield Wraps Tour Player Service. Today, coming out, we've got AFQ Football, the review, which is a long look back at the game against Brighton from a tactical perspective. And also the Coach Home, which is a look at the other clubs in the Premier League. There might even be some further Manchester United chat on there, where we can all have a little giggle at what's going on. So thank you very much from Craig and from me. Have a lovely day, everyone. All the best.
I think that's true. I think it was much less of an if Liverpool win than a when Liverpool win. I didn't feel like Brighton, whether they're able to or even wanted to, sort of laid siege to Liverpool late on in the way that you've sort of seen those games go before. And that, I suppose, is the significant difference, and maybe the difference in the Liverpool team and in the way teams are going to approach us this season. We talked about it before, teams taking a 1-0 or a 2-0 at Anfield and feeling like, well, it doesn't derail your season, it doesn't ruin your next performance, it doesn't sort of give you any hangover. So you'd be relatively content with that if you're Brighton. And I think you feel like their equaliser could only really have come by some massive slice of fortune or some massive error from Liverpool, which is always possible and can always happen. And you give yourself a puncher's chance, then maybe that's a perfectly reasonable way for them to approach the game. You wouldn't. It's not a performance that you're gonna look back on, even 2 or 3 games on and be amazingly enthused about as a Liverpool fan. But it is the kind of performance that, for quite a long time, has felt quite rare, maybe slightly unfairly, but I think certainly in the first couple of seasons under Klopp were quite rare. And you'd see a lot of 2-2s or mad games at home where we'd get back into them, thinking of the Swansea game which was just everything wrong. There was an awful lot right here if your intention is to win a game and get 3 points, and we sort of need to start treating games. I think some of this is partly to do with the fixture lists and the way they've fallen and no sort of big game before the break, but these games just aren't, they're of a piece. And we talked about, we need 10 points, we'd be happy with that from these 4 games. Well, we're virtually there with that. Really good chance of getting 12. I don't think the manager, if you look at the way he's literally played the same team in all of them, he's almost treating them as one 4-piece set, I think, or certainly these 3. We'll see what happens with Leicester.